Hey guys, this video is about strategies for owning your own home. So if you've been paying attention to the housing market, buying your own home these days and being able to not only make the down payment but the mortgage payments, and then on top of that being able to maintain and do repairs and upkeep on a house is way out of most people's price range these days, and it's becoming increasingly more challenging to purchase and own your own home these days. Nearly impossible for a lot of people, especially for young people. It's that kind of American dream of owning your own home is almost gone completely. However, in this video I want to offer some strategies through some of my own experience for how you might be able to still own your own home. This is going to take thinking outside of the box, though. We're gonna have to move away from looking at purchasing a home on the market because most people are priced out of that. Not to mention the quality of what you would be purchasing. The housing quality is horrible. You really don't want to spend your money on these newly built homes. They're really poor quality. They're not going to last very long. Your house, especially for what you're paying and investing into it, it should last longer than one generation. It should be something that you can pass down to your next generation, potentially. So buying a house these days is just a bad option, in my opinion. In a lot of ways, it's just overpriced. The quality is horrible, and there's better options. But we have to think differently. I think everybody's just stuck in this mindset of, go to college, get your degree, get a job, and work in the city and buy a house. It doesn't work quite that way anymore. And so it's not that simple anymore. We need to think outside the box. And that's something I've been striving for a long time. And I've gotten results so far. I'm doing quite well with the strategy I've been working towards. There's a lot of work involved. That's the thing. Most people just don't want to put in the work that's required to make this happen. People want some turnkey option where they can just pay somebody and they just go move into their new house and it's all done. And you can't do it that way with the strategies I'm going to present. So if you can't buy a house, the other option is to create your own house. Create your own home from scratch. And that's what I've been doing. And so far it's been very successful. I've been able to build, and it's still in the early stages, but I'm building a very nice home on a much lower budget than what I would be spending if I was buying a house for $400,000, $500,000. So the first thing you need is a piece of land. So once you have a piece of land, you technically have a home. Throughout history, if you didn't own land, you were usually considered a slave. You were always beholden to somebody else. So land ownership is the first key to having your own home, your own place, and a certain level step up in your personal freedom. So getting that piece of land is key. And I would personally recommend people try to acquire that piece of land with whatever it takes. Get that land first. That's most important. And I know most people are on a low budget. I've worked off of using a low budget. And so what I did and what I recommend people do is get your land and just, if you have to, just live in your car. Live in a van or whatever, a vehicle. If you have a little bit more money to spend, set up a tent. I set up what's called a wall tent. That's actually what I'm sitting on the porch of my old wall tent right now. A wall tent is a canvas tent, and basically, it's like a little house. It's just the walls are canvas, but it's a really quick and low-cost way to set up a living space. So that's what I did. I lived in my wall tent for over a year. It was really nice, actually. It's a little hard in the wintertime because you got to keep the fireplace going constantly, but overall, it was a great experience. Now I live in the little tiny house behind me, so that's my upgrade. And then after this house, I'll be building a larger house. So it's all about working in stages. Instead of just paying somebody for a house that's already built, you're going to have to build it yourself, and you're going to start with basically nothing, potentially, and work your way up step by step by step, and your life is going to continue to improve, and you're going to get a lot more fulfillment out of it too. You're really going to appreciate your home and what you have a lot more, and you're going to have something special that's of much higher quality as well. So the first thing is getting that piece of land. And a side note here is, if you can, before doing any of this, is to get out of any debt you have. It's going to make your life a whole lot easier. It's going to make, obviously, paying for building things easier. So I know not everybody can just get out of debt immediately, but that's part of the strategy too. So once you have your land, start setting up a place to live, and basically you have a home at that point. And there's technicalities to all this. It depends what county you're in, depends where you're building, but there are places. There's actually a lot of places you can go. I know here in the United States that you can do this. You can buy a piece of land, just raw land. You can set up something on it to live in, and you can just start from scratch. So this is like, I don't know what I'd call it, the homestead strategy or the pioneer strategy, something like that. Because you are basically going onto rough land and carving out a home for yourself. So you're starting from scratch usually, unless you have the money to buy something that has infrastructure and utilities and things on it already. But I kind of want to gear this video and this strategy more towards the low budget folks out there, because I know that's where most of my viewers are at, and that's where I was at with this experience too. So yeah, anyway, I guess the point is to give you some hope that you can still own your own home these days, and you don't have to get into a bunch of debt. You don't have to buy something you're not really interested in having. Let me also recommend it. I think, considering the times, it's a good idea if you can make money, if you can live out in the country and make money still. I think you're going to get a much higher quality of living, and your money is going to go farther. Living out in the country, you don't need to make as much money. There are fewer job opportunities in the country usually, but you don't need to make as much money either. It's all about a mindset shift. I kind of feel like when you live in the city, you might make more money, but you're also spending a whole lot more money and just kind of wasting most of that money. So buying land and building your own home or homestead is going to cost money either way. So there are ways to do it on a lower budget that are much more practical than buying a home on the market, for example. But it's still going to cost money. And like for me, since I started building my home here, all the extra money that I've made has always gone into the building and setting things up, setting up infrastructure. So there's a lot of costs involved in getting everything built and set up. And so I don't have that extra money because it's always going into the building. But to me, that's okay, because I know I'm not just throwing that money away, paying some rent somewhere, for example. The money I'm spending is going into the investment of my own home. It's something that is mine and that I'm building the way I want to do it. And so I don't feel like any of that money is going to waste at all. But it is, it's an expense for sure. So you do need to have some form of income to make this happen still. But I think if you can start with a piece of land and just incrementally work your way up to building the home that you want, at least, you're making progress step by step, incrementally, instead of just being stuck in a situation where, you just can't afford anything, so you don't have any hope of ever having a home, or just being homeless. At least you've got some land, you've got a place you can call your own, and start working on something. So I think a lot of people don't consider the option of building their own home because they just don't have the background in those kind of skill sets and experience. However, I didn't come from a background of building either. I worked in corporate business for a couple of years after college, and then got into the trades and construction, what I'm doing here. So I didn't come from a background with that either, but I was able to teach myself how to do all this stuff. And so I really feel like pretty much anybody can pick up these skills. They're not very complicated. It's more about discipline and work ethic than anything, and just sticking to a goal and staying dedicated to making it happen. I think that's probably the more challenging thing than anything. Actually building isn't that complicated. There is a lot of knowledge required. Absolutely. Building principles, building concepts, knowledge and skills of building it's a lot, and it has taken me a long time to get to where I'm at, but it's not that overly complicated. It's something you can learn. If you really have the interest and you're dedicated, you can absolutely learn how to do all this construction stuff. And so I think people should open their minds to the possibilities of building their own home, because it's definitely within your grasp. So I know this strategy sounds really basic, and it is. It's basically just saying get out of debt, buy a piece of land for yourself, and build yourself your own home. Now that's a lot easier said than done, which I understand. It is a lot of work, but this is an option, and most people just don't consider this as an option at all. But it is out there. You can do this. You can still own your own home doing it this way, and there's a lot of benefits to doing it this way. So I hope somebody out there might find some value in this video, and hope you found it interesting. So for those of you who might be interested in going down a path like this, in acquiring your own piece of land and building your own home, and especially if you have an interest in using the natural materials like cob and straw clay and perhaps hempcrete, rammed earth, adobe, things like that. I have tons of material here online in video format, and these are things I've compiled over the course of my whole building career. It's kind of like my legacy of what I've done personally, and it's all compiled into one package basically. So for those of you who are interested in going down this path and you want some extra help, I have this available. And the real benefit, I think, out of all this material is it's going to cut your learning curve considerably. It could cut your learning curve and save you years of time and trial and error, and probably more importantly, save you from making mistakes, expensive mistakes. So what happens with building and learning building a lot of the time is you make expensive mistakes. And so it's really good if you have a teacher or some kind of advisor along the way to kind of help direct you in making the right decisions with your building. And so that's kind of what I offer here on my channel and with my videos. And so right now I have my video course on sale again for just $50. Links below for that. It's only $50, which is actually a 90% discount, saving you $450. So hopefully that helps some of you guys out this week. I know everybody's feeling the burn financially. So that's available down below there. And at this point, I think it's at over 17 hours of video content. And I just updated it this past winter with my new methods of construction. I basically documented everything I've built here on the property, and you know, all the past material that I've done. So there's so much in there at this point. The video, there's also tons of written notes I've compiled over the years, and I think over 100 design diagrams. So there's a lot of material. It's stuff that can save you years of time and effort and money. I've already put it all together for you basically. I've compiled it within my style, the way I do things, but it's still going to save you so much time in just going through books and, you know, piecing everything together. I've kind of already created that system for you in my style at least, and so it's something that's kind of just I can just hand to you and you can use at this point. It's basically you're gonna get a download file, and it's all downloadable basically. You don't have to get some login or access a website or anything like that. I'm gonna send you the direct download files for everything, so it's something you can keep for life. You can put it on as many computers as you want, put it on your cell phone, so it's accessible as you're working, whatever you want to do with it. It's just a one-time purchase, $50, and you get everything. And yeah, I try to make it simple for you guys. I try to make everything simple these days. One reason why I'm living out here, transitioning to a more simple lifestyle. So I hope this video has been at least somewhat helpful, and if you want to get the video course below, I hope that will also be helpful for you in acquiring your own piece of land and building your own home.